Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Bill Davis is our reader today. Bill, what's up first?
First comment today is from Vic Hernandez in Springfield, Missouri, and he notes, for video conferencing like Zoom and Office Hours, background aside, is there any benefit to using more than key, fill, and hair lights on your primary subject?
Ronnie, kick us off.
So, I was reading this, and it depends, of course, of the budget and if it's a fixed installation or if it's more a mobile thing. But as an example, I have a very black shirt on me. I tend to do that all broadcast. But just before we went live here, I just set up a front light. So I have now a front light. You can see it's blinking kind of weak. And I can increase that, of course, and make my beard a little more lit, and some of the darker parts of my dark shirt is lit, even though I should be doing that. And of course, there is another way to control your backgrounds, and I put up another light just to have the background being lit. So as you can see, I have colors, LED colors, and this is because this is my private home studio where I tend to just be in office hours, etc. And a few company calls is also made from this studio. But when I'm doing company calls, I tend to either shut down the colored background, or if I know this person very well, I will recolor those to fit with the brand for the company which I'm talking to. So that is the two different things that I tend to do. In a professional studio, of course, there's a lot of other stuff that's going on, and we will probably then be adding flags, so shades to shade out and have full control over all the shadows. And but you know the saying, creating a good image is painting with light. It's nothing else. So that's basically what you have to do.
Bill?
100% agree with that. And, you know, this is really one of those things. To me, lighting is a little bit like cooking. There is absolutely nothing wrong with simple, basic cooking. You take a basic ingredient, you prepare it properly, it'll satisfy 99% of the people who are hungry, and that's all you really need to do. So three-point lighting developed because each light has a specific function. The key light gives you primary illumination. If you just do a driver's license photo, big front key light and nothing else, it kind of looks flat and uninspiring. So people came up with the idea of doing a key light on one side, a fill light to bring up the shadows on the other, and some sort of back or rim light in order to define the shape of the head of the person you're doing. You do that, and you do it well, and you are fine in 99% of the shots you'll do. But like cooking, there's more if you want to investigate more. If you go into the photography side, you'll see all these things like not just Rembrandt lighting, which is a very specific form of three-point lighting that is designed like Renaissance painters used to paint. You know, it paints kind of a shadow triangle on one side, and it gets complicated to do really well. But that's one level, but you also have like clamshell lighting and butterfly lighting and a whole bunch of other techniques that are designed to help shape faces and things like that. So if you really want to make somebody look spectacular, or if they have an issue, let's say someone has skin problems or a mole or something that you either do or don't want to emphasize, you can use these more sophisticated techniques to help shape the look of the person. And at the high level, it can be really helpful. I once had an interview with a woman who was really, really extraordinary. She was a volunteer with an organization, and she had done hugely great work. But when I got to the location to light her, she had an unfortunate, real substantial issue on one side of her face. So lighting her to de-emphasize the issue, I took the extra time because I understood her content was more important than anything else. And I just wanted to eliminate people focusing on the one issue and stopping listening to her while they figured out what this thing was that they were seeing. So that's when you want more skill and to have studied a little more and to be able to help your subjects look their best, because that's really our job. We want to get away from the discussion of their appearance and get to what they're saying often. So that's my 2 cents on going beyond basic 3-point lighting.
Courtney?
We'll have to give it to Bill for coming up with unfortunate substantial issue as a means of talking about some kind of facial problem. Well, he didn't want to say her nose was 3 inches too long, but hey, or there were, crow's feet that, crows would have trouble walking on. I don't have to worry about hair lights. I gave up on those a long time ago, along with Ronnie and CJ probably. Well, you get a little glare, so I don't have one of those. I have the background lights. My problem comes into effect during the show itself. When we start the show, like now, you see the nice purple background, because this is my living room, and there are 2 floor-to-ceiling French doors just to my left. And when the sun comes creeping over the building across the street, it comes and smacks me in this side of the face, and I have to adjust my lighting during the show to fill it out and to balance out the exposure, because then this would be way overexposed and this would be way underexposed. So I have to reach up and adjust my lighting during the show. So that is one thing. I also have a little bitty kick light down here for lighting under the hat and to give me a little bit of a sparkle in the eye, so they don't look like the 2 lumps of coal in the middle of my house. Another unfortunate effect, yes. So that helps a little bit to give you something for the camera, something to focus on. That's an important thing, because most autofocus cameras look for a pair of eyes these days, and if your eyes aren't well lit, it may not find you, and it may focus on that interesting background.
Yeah, and Ronnie, go ahead.
Yeah, and as you can see, one of the problems I have like this 1 feet by 1 feet softboxes on my light storms here, and you can see clearly how the shadow from the glasses is on my chin here. So another thing is to not only get the front light or kind of key and fill, but you also need to have them softed enough. So I probably will be in the next iteration, I will add some more fabric in front of them and have a bigger softbox. And as Courtney said, have full control over light coming into the place where you are doing this. So masking out windows, controlling the ambience lights, and have full control over that. Fortunately, in our studio, we have just a black room in the middle of a building. There is no windows, and we have absolute control over our studio lighting. So that is a good thing. But of course, for empathic and psychological reasons, you should have a window where you are sitting and working. That is a good idea.
Liberty.
I just had a quick question for Courtney. He mentioned a kick light. What did you say that you needed the kick light for, or what was the purpose?
Give me a little sparkle in my eyes so that you can see something reflected in the surface of your eyes. So it gives you otherwise
the human aspect, like
dark brown eyes with big wide pupils, and it looks like I am Beelzebub if I don't have a little bit of light coming in from underneath, and my hat kind of filters out the front light. So that's
okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it a hair light, but I do have a light coming in the back, the dome light, so to speak, just to give myself a little bit of separation from the background. The other thing that I would say for a Zoom setup that I learned in this group with office hours is really a really big soft source. So like if you're in my office where I am right now, I built this kind of makeshift. I thought I was going to make it into something nice, but I never got there. So for now, it's still makeshift. But it's just a great big soft source. And then I noticed that I was having an issue where I didn't get enough light on my face. And so I actually put this piece in the corner. I hung more diffusion down so that it almost acted something like a fill light. But the concept of the lighting didn't really change. What changed, though, was the just making it a really big and soft source so that I'm putting my best face forward when I show up with my virtual suit and tie, so to speak. Bill?
Well, I just wanted to note that kicker that Courtney was talking about. That's the trouble with lighting jargon. It changes so much. One of my original instructors called those OBs. Yeah, based on Merle Oberon, who was an actress in the silent film era, and her director figured out that she had deep eye sockets, and so they lit her with that Obi. So you never know what somebody's going to call something. There is no wrong or right way. It's just regional. There'd be one name for something on one coast and another name on another coast. It's just a weird, this is all scrabbled together. It's fun.
If you'd like to ask questions, the best way to do that is to get into Makana. That's our internal system. You can not only ask questions there, but you can also vote on questions as well as chat with the other producers. If you're not in Makana, you can go to officehours.global/join. That's officehours.global/join. And there you'll put in your email address. You'll get on our list. You'll get an email with all the links on how to get on the inside track. Check it out. Next question.
Nathan Cashin in Oregon City is up next. What are the best ways to minimize and manage dust buildup on studio equipment? Anti-static wipes, air filters, clean room, and air shower.
Ronnie?
Yeah, just get a robot vacuum. That was my idea. It doesn't work. It went into all the cables on the floor and everything got kind of messy. To be frank, I think having a clean studio facility so having good cleaning people doing this stuff is always a good idea. Of course, the HVAC will cause some troubles in bigger places. But what we do in the studio, so I'll approach this two ways. So this is a bigger studio and a small home studio, like this office place that I'm sitting in right now. So in the big studio, we tend to protect everything that is not in use by having something over it. Just a piece of molten so stage curtain or similar, plastic or original plastic covers. There's a company in UK that makes covers for almost anything you could imagine in polycarbonate. So that is something we use a lot of. I'll put the link in the chat if I remember. And just have a general good cleaning and of course, pack away equipment that is not being used actively. For my home office, I tend to have so much stuff on my desk, like CJ had shown us from his beautiful office location, and this is how most of these studios or home office desks, whatever you would like to call it, is. It's a lot of equipment, it's a lot of displays, it's lighting, it's tripods, it's cables going everywhere, it's stream decks, keyboards, mouses, etc. So there is absolutely no good way to have a clean desk if you are kind of into this. So on behalf of most of the Office Hours team, I think clutter is the rule, and it's difficult to have that clean. So when you're cleaning, use a damp cloth, clean over the big displays because they are definitely collecting some of the static dust that is in the air, and make sure that you do not cover equipment that is turned on. You will have a heat buildup, and maybe something will be too hot and get damaged. And if you just do like I do, every 2 or 3 months, I reconnect everything, I remove everything, I clean everything and put it back into place. I guess that's a good idea that CJ might be doing. We can do it together, CJ. That's cool.
Listen, I don't know how to keep a clean desk. I have had times where I've thought this is going to be the day, this is going to be the week, and everything gets in its place, and I very quickly, it lasts about a week because if I can't see it on the desk, I forget that it exists. And then I go around and I'm trying to get everything together. It's like, no, but I respect people who can get work done with a clean desk. Because I feel like if everything's not right at my fingertips, I start to forget why I'm here. Courtney?
Sign of a clean desk is an empty mind. Yes, a clean desk is the sign of an empty mind. Yeah, I used to have a business partner like that. His desk was always immaculately. There was 2 pencils and a pad and the phone on his desk, and that's all that was ever on it. And he never did anything. That's how he kept his desk so clean. Me, I've gone the dust cover route because I, like everyone else here, have if there's any horizontal space left in this room, I have not found it yet. because there's something laying on top of everything that can support something off the ground. I've taken to using up in the shop. I've had a problem because here I live in Los Angeles in a very old home that was built 100 years ago. So there's no central air conditioning. So there's no central filtering of any of the air that comes in. We keep our windows open a lot. And in the early years, it's less now. When I first moved to LA, when you leave your windows open, there's a fine layer of black soot and the dust, rubber dust that comes off of tires that is floating through the air and settles on everything that is in front of a window, the windowsills, the ground, everything else. I don't know. I guess up in Oregon, Nathan, you have to have the wagon wheel dust comes in and settles on your stuff. But here it was the tire dust. So I have to cover stuff up with, I use a fitted sheet for a twin XL bed. Works quite nicely because it's got that elastic around the bottom and it perfectly fits over a wide 8-foot table or a 6-foot, 7-foot table, and keeps the dust off it when I'm not using it. And you can just wrap it up when you go to use it and then put it back on and launder it. You can take it off and launder it every couple of weeks to keep that dust from collecting on it. If there's for cleaning keyboards and stuff, I've got one of these dust busters, and this one's nice because it's got this little flip out brush on the end of it, stays attached, so you're never wondering where's that brush. So you flip that out, and the brush can get between little knobs and things to clean keyboards off. So it's handy to have for those. And that's what I use for keeping the dust off. And then I'll use some wipes and sometimes I'll take about a 3-inch wide camel hair paintbrush, a nice paintbrush, and dampen it with alcohol and clean the surface of my mixer. So the alcohol will break up the grease and soot and schmutz that gets on there. And it'll get between the knobs and it'll evaporate quickly. And so it won't leave a residue behind. So that's what I use. And I use on the LCD touch screens for like on my Rodecaster, I'll use Clear Wipe, which are those moistened towelettes they're used for cleaning your glasses with. They're moistened with isopropyl alcohol.
And listen, Ronnie, I just want to tell you, we're in good company. There are a lot of people that they did okay and have messy desks. I'm just saying. Let's move on to the next question.
Next one comes from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. Ruthless Review Redo. How would you rate and improve this show from California College's School of Business? And they've got a link there.
Bill?
So I pulled it up. Let me see if I can get it playing over here, and I'll show you what he's concerned about, whether or not. So there are a couple of things that immediately jump out at me. The framing is a little bit squirrely. Normally, you want the eyes of your subject on the upper third line, and this kind of diminishes him. Now, I was trying to think, why would they let that happen? And look at that. Now they've got somebody looking like a munchkin down in the corner of things. That is just a standard camera operator not understanding that rule of thirds framing for comfort. In the person before, I don't want to go back, but they've got a pretty strong hairline. That's working because his dark hair has some details because of that. But again, we're just kind of looking down. Okay. Now in this one, they've also got a specular highlight on the top of his hair, and that's one of those cases where a bigger softbox would really help spread that out because my eye just gets attracted to that little thing as it moves around his head. Those are just a couple of quick things. I don't know whether this is a key shot. When I think, why did they do that? Sometimes my initial answer is they were in a very small studio and they didn't have time to move the lights behind him. I mean, that same light probably moved back so that specular highlight was more in the area of hair that he has, would have probably helped a lot. Or it's a live shot out a window. And if so, then props for them because they managed to gel the windows or knock it down enough. So they're doing some things right, but generally their framing is just pretty terrible. And if nothing else, just tilt the camera down. If there's something below them like the desktop you don't want to see, then you have to push in and just frame better. So that's my 2 cents on just a quick look at it.
Courtney?
Yeah, I didn't like the sound either. Yeah, the sound is very echoey, kind of like a room. So I'm not sure of where the microphones is. This second guy here looks like he might have a microphone in front of him, but I guess it is a very live room. That may be just a flat wall behind him. And I think also the overhead this light that looks like a hair light. I think it's just the ceiling light in the room that he's in, because it's coming straight down on his face, and his face is partially illuminated, I think, by the screen. So you see that difference in color temperature between a tungsten level, a tungsten colored light above him, and the blue of the screen that he's looking into, as you can see it reflected in his eyes and lighting up his face with blue. And I don't think he's using it, well, maybe using it a little bit. I don't like the artificial blur in the background. It always distracts me. Maybe he just has a flat wall behind him and it's actually out of focus, but I hate the artificial blur when it can't get it right and your ear is suddenly coming and going during the show. And I'm always attracted to the disappearing ear, which drives me nuts. Ignore that.
Liberty.
So with what everyone else said, I would also share, I think, Bill, you might have said this, just even the background. It's a little distracting. I get that they're potentially trying to, either it was something they just pulled up and maybe it's showing where the school actually is, unsure, but that's not necessary. I'm going to take it to a branding marketing lens. Is this just quickly looking at the channel, the video before that? So it seems like is it Trevor, his name, the host, the gentleman with the moving background is the host. So first and foremost, you're establishing this is the center it's an entrepreneurship program. So if you are teaching people how to become an entrepreneur, there's a level of credibility that your set would help to bring. So, get rid of that background. If you need to use a background, go ahead and get a branded one. As much as at office hours, that's not necessarily how we roll. But in this case, to communicate your authority and your expertise, and just even establishing the program, that would be really helpful. I don't know how long they've been around, but I just clicked around with some other links and, actually I just realized that might be the Jonathan person. So yeah, just the continuity there and what was already said about the framing. That was of course, the first thing that came to mind. And one more thing, just because I did watch the other quickly click through to the other previous video, just having some sort of branding guidelines or kind of this is how we expect you to come in, and whether it be doing the tech check with your guest in advance, because the quality of the hosts and their setup, and then the other one, it's really soft and how they come in, and you can't control how your guest looks, but there are some ways that you can help just with the continuity. And sorry, a bonus on top of that last one is they might even considering maybe a 2-up. I think it looks like they're using Zoom. So however they are out exporting, they can even pin items or getting that side by side, so that they can just have a little variation in the look and feel of the interview.
Ronnie.
Yeah, totally agree with everything that has been said. So I would think that this is kind of for us watching this and being used to what we do here in office hours and every day is trying to improve. This is kind of difficult to watch, but I would say it depends. If the audience is really into the message being brought to the table here, I think they might kind of just look between the fingers and just accept it as it is. But as already said about the audio quality, in that case, the audio quality should be pristine. So, and it isn't. It's really, really bad. Both the image and the concept. It could be that the content is really good, so that the things they are talking about is really good. But either way, it makes them look a little bit more professional, and I would absolutely not trust them in this day and time. We are getting more and more advanced. All the things we are watching is getting better and better. The technology is getting better. The knowledge how to use the technology is improving by the minute. And as far as I can understand, this is so easy to make better. It's like the 10 small things move a little bit further from the back wall, get the lights right, at least get your camera in your eye height, etc. And of course, these are the things we're watching here in this example video is an example of all the things that is really, really bad and is easy to fix. And it doesn't cost a lot either. You just have to know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you just ask here in the office hours community, and you will probably get your card signed at the bottom.
Bill.
I just want to really quickly emphasize what Liberty said about the branding. You know, putting that logo up, that logo means nothing to me. And they didn't expect me to be seeing this on office hours, right? This was probably an internal document. But by not putting some branding down, this is the school of whatever, they just missed an opportunity to burn that into the minds of everybody watching office hours because we're critiquing it. You should never, ever do branding without thought. If you're going to do it, try to do it right. They missed a giant opportunity there for some promo on another platform by just not taking the time to think it through.
Look, here's the thing. If you're a CEO or you're in a executive management position at a business and you did that before video conferencing and Zoom and all that, you can get away with, there being a fingerprint oil smeared over the lens and it looks all foggy and you're kind of in the back left corner. If you're going to a business school and you're trying to break into the business world today, if you got into a meeting with those executives, you would iron your pants and you would shine your shoes and you would make sure that your shirt was pressed and your hair was done and that you looked really presentable. When you come in and you didn't care enough about the meeting and didn't have enough respect for the people on the other end of the call to put your best face forward over a Zoom meeting, you look foolish. And even if nobody is a pixel peeper, nobody's saying, oh, their lighting should be this or their audio should be that, what do they know? At some lower level of their brain, they know it's tricky to hear what you're saying, and it's more mentally taxing. And they know that they just don't feel as great as they would if you would have come in looking great and sounding great. The first impression is, wow, I trust this person. This person cares enough about this meeting to make sure that they are intelligible and look and sound good. And then very quickly, the technology gets out of the way. And really, it doesn't matter what business you're in. You are in the business of communicating ideas, whether that's getting someone motivated to do a task, whether it's managing employees, whether it's selling something. Every person that you interact with is that communication. That is what is core to what you're doing. So when the technology gets out of the way and your message is distilled and able to be communicated in the most powerful way possible, you are going to find that you're dominating those meetings and that your ideas are the ones who get moved forward. You close more sales. And it's because just like 15 years ago when you would have ironed your pants and shined your shoes and tied your tie, you're taking time to give the task that you're doing the respect it deserves. And that's really powerful. If you'd like to ask questions of us, you don't have to do it in Makana. We have 24/7 open as askofficehours.global. That's askofficehours.global. There's nothing to log into, nothing to sign up for. So if you go to askofficehours.global, put in your name, put in your question, we'll get to it in the next couple shows. Next question.
Next one comes to us from Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington. Guy says, what do you think about IKAN's PoE, Power over Ethernet, powered studio light offerings? And he has a link to it there.
Ronnie.
Yeah, it seems like a really good idea. Most lights these days are connected to any type of control surface like DMX or SSAN or ArcNet or similar. So you probably would be, unless you're doing that wirelessly and have full control of the wireless environment, that I don't recommend. There will be an Ethernet cable going to all the lights either way, or at least a DMX cable, which is the old kind of 3-pin or 5-pin XLR cables. So for modern lights or modern setups, and if you purchase new lights, I see no reason why you should not just do that as well with PoE. The only thing I would say that PoE is kind of everything is generated in a switch, which is probably being used for a lot of other stuff as well. So just be sure that you actually can manage the maximum power that each of these switches are utilizing. So I would think that for our use, if we were to fill our studio with these types of lights, I would probably be thinking of adding other types that uses normal powering schemes instead of overpowering. But it seems like a modern way of doing stuff. So I'll look into this. It's a great tip.
Courtney.
Yeah, the seems convenient. The only thing that worries me, there's 5 lights that come, and they provide this switch here, which supposedly is 720 watt switch. Each one of these lights supposedly is 85 watts. That's a lot of watts to run over in DC over a long Ethernet cable. So you got to make sure your cable is up to par. They recommend 24 gauge Cat 6, so 24 AWG. And the other thing that I don't like about this scheme is that it puts all your eggs in one basket. You know, you've got all of your lights powered off that same switch. If that switch blows a power supply or blows a fuse, all your lights go out. And unless you have another way of powering them, you're not going to get them back on if that switch goes dead. If you don't have the individual power supplies for each light. Maybe they come with them, maybe they don't in this package. And if they don't come with an independent power supply other than the PoE, I'd go out and purchase some to have them for backup in case that switch goes down. You'll find yourself in the dark.
Ronnie.
Yeah, and I'm all in for kind of developing stuff and trying new things. Might catch on this thing, but just being Friday and all, just think if it also included Dante audio. Oh, I would buy them in a heartbeat.
And if you're just buying the lights by themselves, I don't even know if that's an option. I think it's an option. Remember, not all power over Ethernet, not all PoE is created equal. Make sure that if you're plugging it into existing infrastructure, that you're at least doing a PoE++, so that you can really drive, besides the gauge thickness of the cable, you also got to make sure there's enough juice on the other end. Next question.
Paul Wallace in Austin, Texas is up with this one. What's the minimum bare bones office hours setup and maximum dream best setup? Lights, camera, go.
Okay, we're going to, you said best, so we're just letting you know. You said best. You've been warned. Go ahead, Bill.
So, yeah, this is a real tough one because this is all changing real fast. Back in the early days of office hours, one of the reasons we started was because we wanted to support the teachers during the pandemic who were suddenly constrained to having their classrooms go virtual, and they weren't really prepared for it. So we did some minimum bare bones. Here's a bare bones microphone, a bare bones webcam. Put these things in place. It was a couple $100, I think, maximum, and you can get your teacher's signal out to your students suddenly when the school's all shut down. And then we did a couple of good, better, best setups like that if you want to go to the next level. The problem for me is that none of that equipment would I buy today because things have evolved so fast. And the low end that we were able to get a hold of back 5 years ago is not anywhere close to as good as some of the simple, inexpensive gear now. There's just a lot more competition for that. We still talk about the fact that a simple little maybe pan tilt OBSpot or one of those little tiny cameras can be really good, and they're not terribly expensive anymore. Some sort of microphone on you as opposed to using the camera microphone is a typical step up that we ask. Doesn't have to be terribly expensive. Lighting is a little more complex, but I got by in my voice booth with a couple of literally $40 to $60 newer 160s, which were not great lights, but you put a piece of gel over them and they were fine in that circumstance. And the first few shows I did here was on that kind of setup. On the other end, it's the same problem. I mean, what is the absolute best this week? Because there may be something coming out next week. We've gone through so many cameras. At one point we were all using Blackmagic 6Ks, and the next iteration people are using Sonys because they're better in low light. And it just keeps evolving and evolving. So your best and your worst today is a snapshot of today, and I wouldn't guarantee that it's going to be the best and the worst 6 months from now, because we just see how fast this stuff evolves. That's my 2 cents.
Ronnie.
Yes, I would say bare minimum is have a really, really good microphone. So audio is always the most important, and listening to something like office hours for the entire hour is kind of could be fatiguing if all those at the panel were using mediocre or bad microphone setups. So making sure that you have a good microphone, and probably if it's an empty room, unless this is filled with clutter and displays and equipment and everything, it kind of reduces the audio. But if you were critically listening on your headset, you will probably hear some short reverberation, etc. So you could easily just add some fabric or stuff to your surfaces to tone them down and reduce the early reverberation. And then, of course, the room, the normal room treatment is of course possible. I would always say try to fix your room, how the room is sounding, instead of starting to invest in an expensive camera, for instance. So having that said, the camera is of course the next most important thing, and keeping it in the correct eye level, having a kind of a normal portrait lens type of thing, around 40 to 50 millimeters equivalent, and making it easy to fine adjust. I had this other guy on a discussion forum the other day. He was having everything with a prompter and a big lens and a camera, etc. A lot of weight, just with the quarter inch thread in the bottom of the camera body, and that was mounted on a kind of quick release magic arm, which was underpowered, and he had problem stabilizing this camera, and of course it's not stable enough. So make sure you have a stable, good camera, and the microphone as well as the camera should not be connected to your desk, so that if you do stuff on your desk, it shouldn't move your pictures or camera, and it shouldn't reflect the audio or relay the audio up through the arm like I do now. If you can hear this, the audio is coming through the arm, so isolate that in another stand. And it's perfectly safe to do not using tripods. You can use monopods or microphone stands with a heavy round foot, etc. Everything is possible to do, and all those kind of simple things is what makes it bare minimum. And of course, you need some lights and some controls for that. I think I stop there.
Courtney?
Yeah, I think the bare minimum I would go with, if you're just using a laptop, let's say, as your interface to Zoom, is one of the Insta360 links, the old one, not the new one. The new one, the Link 2, has no roll control. In other words, you can't adjust the horizon. This is a 3-axis gimbal, so it'll automatically level your room out for you, and it'll clip right on top of the laptop screen, so you can have your eye line pretty good just at the top of the laptop. You need a USB microphone of some sort, maybe like a 7B, the USB version, or 7D. I can't remember what the Shure microphone is that has both. A shock mount that has a suspension on it so that it's not sitting on the table, so that every time you lay your hand on the table, it goes thunk. So you got to isolate that microphone from the table that you're sitting at. I would have a second screen, it can be just one of those flat portable screens, a 15-inch plugged into the additional video output, HDMI converter or whatever you have to go from a USB-C on your Mac or your PC, or an HDMI out on your PC to a second screen, so that you can use 2 screens for organizing your viewing. A in-ear monitor, the cheapest you can get is like the one that I'm using here, which is a security monitor from HYS, just goes in one ear, and it's $10. You get 2 of them for $20. So, and it sounds good. I've been using it for 3 years, and I'm really happy with the quality of the sound in this one. There are others that look exactly like it that I didn't like the quality on. So I liked the HYS, and that gives you, everything you need. You don't have to have open speakers. You don't have to have a microphone on your laptop that is serving as your only input. And please don't use those iPods with you have those little white boogers coming out of your ears. I think that it's
AirPods.
AirPods. Excuse me. Sorry, I don't live in the garden. That's a dead giveaway. I hate seeing people on the news with the AirPods. A, you're identifying a specific type because that's it's certainly recognizable, and B, you can suddenly end up using the microphones in them, which can be pretty compromising. And because of the Bluetooth, they can run down they're wireless. They can run down in the middle of the shot. So in the middle of a long meeting, in other words. Now for the best setup, let's see, I would go for an Arri Alexa with a good 20 to 75 zoom on it, primo zoom, maybe set a complement of aperture lighting, maybe a Teradek encoder and a Ross switcher that the I'd have multiple Arri Alexas so I could change angles, and a switcher, Ross switcher maybe, and a Teradek encoder. And of course, a U87 microphone that's like Bill's. It's only his is a TLM-103 or something, sitting in front of me. So have good sound, and then a good quiet studio that's a fully floating studio to shoot from. That'd be my optimum Zoom setup.
Yeah, and if you were, I'm not going to try to go best. I think Courtney's got me covered there. But if you're looking to invest in making your setup better, I'm also going to go with what Ronnie said, and you sounding better is going to make you look better somewhere subliminally. If you sound good, your picture automatically looks better. And if you were to say, okay, I've spent somewhere between $60 to $100, maybe $150 on a microphone, like that MV6 from Shure is, I think, $150. If the next money that I would spend isn't in a camera, it's in lighting and treating the room, you can get a tremendous amount out of cheaper cameras if there's a lot of light thrown at it. I mean, just look at how good cell phone pictures look in broad daylight versus when they're taken in challenging environments. If you're throwing a lot of light at your shot, it's going to help you. And that's where you can start to get into the newers and things like that and go to Home Depot and build yourself a softbox out of some PVC and some diffusion fabric and suspend it from the ceiling. But great stuff all around. Next question.
This from Phil Martin in Sydney, Australia. With the way things are going with AI, will our roles in AV still be needed? Is there specific areas that would be worth upskilling in to still have a job in 5 to 10 years?
Liberty.
Wow, great question. Things are moving so fast. Even 5 years feels so far away. Like when we look at just recently, OpenAI, they now have agents, and we're in this agentic realm right now, which means the systems and tools, they can, just based on how you configure them, that they can do the work based on not just prompting and say, do this, but you say, hey, turn on the lights and then do this and then search for that. And you push that through and it does it on its own. So with that in mind, everything about work, no matter what field you're in, is changing and will change. So your question is, how do we prepare? How do we upskill? Well, one of the things right now, and I'm really only speaking to like the next 2-3 years, even that, is understanding how to then manage those systems. So how to set them up. I would really pay attention to a couple of folks, like paying attention to the big ones, especially in like HeyGen and in video, and some of those folks that are building tools that are in the content and the production realm. 11 Labs, we talk about that a lot, but just seeing where there are gaps. Like one of the biggest skills that will be necessary now and moving forward is just ultimately critical thinking skills and finding the gaps that the market needs. And so when you look at it from that perspective, like I also add, and this is for just depending on how technical you are, seeing where programming is going as well. And when you say AV, without really knowing what space in the AV realm you are, just looking at where those technical side and how you can leverage the AI technology and just understanding, the biggest thing is to take a grasp of how those things work and how those workflows and how to improve them. And then on the other side of it is there's still going to be a need for creativity and problem solving, and what ways that you can really amplify what you currently do and how you solve things. But again, everything is changing. They say 170 million new jobs are coming. Many of those are on the technical side.
Bill.
The thing I've been thinking about recently is the middle. It used to be that you had to be averagely competent to get a decent job. I think that AI, particularly utility AI and the rest of these things, are going to elevate so many people into the middle because you don't have to write a bad sentence now. AI will correct it for you. You don't have to be able to draw. AI will draw for you. There's just all sorts of skills. What it still isn't impacting is your people skills. And I would spend time seriously trying to be employable as a person. Learn, I hate to say it, but it's almost back to Miss Manners. Learn how to deal with people. Learn how to look them in the eye and talk to them and make them feel good about having you around, because all of these people in the middle are going to be competing for all of these jobs. So the question is, what's going to make you the employable person out of a much broader pool of people who are competent because they have all these extra tools that help them be at least competent? I'm trying to find things where I can be way above competent, and they have to be things that I enjoy doing because I want to build a reputation for, well, he's not like everybody else. He's different in this way, in this area, because that'll make me stick in their mind. And that may be when they need that, they call me instead of one of the 1,000 people who are competing for that same thing because they're using all of these AI tools. That's been my thinking lately. Well, time will tell if it's true.
Courtney.
I'm a little less bullish on the everything will be great in the future concept. There's a great interview out there on YouTube that's an hour and a half long with Jeffrey Hinton, and this is Jeffrey right here. He's the godfather of AI. He was one of the founders of Google's AI intelligence. He quit Google because, as it says here, I tried to warn them, but we've already lost control. It's an hour and a half long interview, and he's a brilliant man, and his take on the progress that AI is making, what jobs will we be able to do in the future, and it's a good take on its effects on society and a lot of problems of the dangers of AI that are out there. And, to cut to the chase, it's an hour and a half, and you get to the end, and they ask him, so what, for your children and your children's children, what would you urge them to go into in the age of AI superintelligence, which he claims is coming maybe a year to 5 years, somewhere along that line, where the machines are not only smarter than humans, but they're 1,000 times smarter than humans and a lot faster. So if you're trying to compete with any of that and all of the different jobs, intellectual jobs it can do, you know what his answer was? Plumber. Be a plumber, because, we'll always need plumbers. Get into the service industry, and you can be a plumber and still work in AI if you just do all those little tubes that are on those quantum computers these days. You can just be really good at arranging all those little gold tubes that handle that liquid helium that keep them cool.
Liberty?
I just wanted to come back and touch on what Bill had said, where he said the people skills, most definitely, that will be at a premium. And I wish I had my telestrator set up, but if you think about it, we've got, there are 3 groups in the workforce right now. We've got the boomers, we've got Gen X, we've got millennials. And then after that, we've got Gen Alpha, who they are growing up. They're the digital natives. So some of the things, and just to bring up Ryan in the chat had said, making food for the crew can't be done with AI. But then I just watched a video yesterday with someone talking about overseas, I think it might have been Japan, where this hotel, they've got the robots coming and bringing food to different people's rooms and making coffee. But everyone in the comments were saying, I don't want to have a robot give me coffee. It is the interaction that takes place, the banter at your local, with your local barista or whomever. So I think that there's also going to be this cycle that's happening where, yes, all these tools and we're going to have an inflection point, but people will still crave human connection. So anything that it deals with human connection, with relationship, that deals with community, like those areas will be at a premium. And then if you want to wrap some technical skills around that, so I just wanted to put that out there as a part of the conversation as well.
Bill?
I was watching a YouTube video on one of the great guitarists, the session guitarist, and he was saying, I think I got my first job just because I was a good hang. And in shorthand, that's what it is. You've got to be somebody people want to be around. It is more and more critical. And I watched something just the other day with talking about this generation, about how they're not getting those social skills because they're in their bedroom and we're online all the time and we're ordering all of our stuff from Amazon, and we're just really getting more, particularly the young people, getting more disconnected from those social skills. And I think that's going to be critical. You've got to get out and interact with people, and you've got to get shut down because you said something inappropriate and learn not to do that the next time, and how to be someone other people want to be around, because, man, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's interesting. I agree definitely with what Courtney said about the trades. I think the trades are super important, and those are things that are going to be difficult to replace. The other thing that I am starting to see is that craving for a human connection. I listened to a song that was actually quite good, that was done by an AI. It was a full-fledged song with bridges and choruses, and it sounded very much like a pop record. And it occurred to me the reason it sounded like a pop record is because we put so much sanitization into highly produced music. We're doing auto-tune and Melodyne, and we're, tweaking everything to clean it up and make it sound perfect. And I found myself thinking, man, I wish that they went a little flat there. I wish that they had a little bit of a tremor in their voice. I wish that I heard the human being that was behind that performance. And then you realize, well, they're not. That's because they're not there. So we may see the pendulum swing in the other direction, where humans are craving art in the sense that there's a human being behind it, and that makes it feel a little different. So it's definitely going to change, but it's something that we have to focus on. What are the skills that are unique to us, and what are and not be afraid of the things that are making us human. You can support Office Hours. A couple ways you can support Office Hours. Like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also volunteer. We have opportunities both during the show and around the show, keeping us organized moving forward. And there's also a way for you to contribute to us financially, keep the show going. That's officehours.global/donate. We are a nonprofit. So if you go to officehours.global/donate, you can chip in there, and we sure would appreciate it. Thank you. Next question.
David Williams in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Neutrik OpticalCON is the fiber gold standard for rental and staging, and yes, has the price tag to match. Should you buy once, cry once? Are there any alternatives that can compete on this level? And looking for high channel counts, 12 to 24 MTP-MPO connects.
Ronnie.
Yes, I've been diving into this field for the last 2 years. I would say there are three different depends. One, inside or outside. That's one of the primary things. The other one is, are you using this yourself, or do you have a lot of people coming in and do this stuff for you, like freelancer, etc.? And three, are you doing this in a professional way, or are you doing this, so interfacing with other professionals, or are you doing this all by yourself? So is it your own company and you do everything, or do you interact with other companies in this mess? Because other companies will tend to have Neutrik, no question asked. If you're doing this yourself, it's a good idea to look into using something like this from fs.com. It's kind of in the industrial armored fiber, and please make sure you have some form of armored cable, at least if this is used in an area where or a venue where people are walking or doing stuff. If it's in your own studio or home studio, it doesn't matter. You can use any type of cable as long as you take care of it. And this customized cable from FS is, I've customized it with 24 fibers. I've said 500 feet. I've said the 24 female in both ends. And I also have a pulling tube with and kind of enforced. It's another separate thing that you can have, and it's also on a spool. So this is 500 feet, and it what's it? It's 1,500 euros. It's like maybe $1,600, $1,700. The other thing you are asking about is, of course, the optical cons. So if you look at this picture I have here on my screen, and you look at this one, it kind of looks similar, but they are not. Neutrik's connectors are much more professional. They are rugged, and you can make sure that if you're interacting with other companies in this venue, they will probably have some kind of optical cons already in their chassis, and this makes interoperability much easier. And then, of course, back to the pricing. So OpticalCON is from Neutrik is of course a little bit more expensive. It is more professional. It's more rugged. It's easier to clean and it's easier to maintain. But the problem arises all the time. Should you buy this or should you buy that? I see a lot of Neutrik being used for audio or front of host to stage links. And that is because most of those companies, they have two cables, one primary and one backup. In the video world, where we tend to be working a lot, there is not one or two cables. There's like 42 cables or 96 cables going from any point in any camera, and you have a lot of patching being done in this. And in that scenario, I would be thinking that the cheaper solution is better as long as you are the one in charge.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from Kyle Hammond in Chicago, Illinois. Want to create a multi-room NDI camera setup. What's the best place to start?
Looks like the NDI crew is sleeping in today. No, just kidding. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Get a rotor. Get a really, really, really good rotor to start with, and then you can add cameras. Because if you start with a camera and you just use a cheapish rotor, everything will be problematic and you will run your head into the wall too many times. So get a Netgear, the media rotors for 250 or 4350, which is made for NDI. You just go in, configure it, say these ports are being used for NDI, and everything seamlessly just start to work. If this is just a 2 or 3 camera setup with a few feeds going in and out, it's kind of easy. And if this is a very flexible, bigger solution, you should also have some of the extra tools that we use in the cloud-based production, which is actually just indexing all the different NDI sources and destinations, so that you have a full control over this, regardless if network is being disturbed. So having a service that runs the entire NDI network and keep everything in check is a good idea. That's embedded as a part of the NDI toolbox that you get from NDI.
The other thing that I would do as a starting place is determine how many cameras you're going to have in total and in each room, and then figure out what flavor of NDI are you going to be using. So is it full NDI, is it NDI HX or something like that? Because that is going to help you understand your bandwidth requirements, both in your cabling and in your router. So as those systems get more and more complex, It's like the more complex a system gets, the more it behooves you to take a step back and put pencil to paper and draw out the wiring diagram and the math and the requirements and almost make a spec. Even if you're building it yourself, sometimes building a specification much like you would build if you were having someone else come in and have an integrator come in and install that for you. Having that document is really powerful because it helps you grow and delegate and everything else. So that would be my advice if I were to start on a new project. But I'm jealous. I may have to. I'll be up in Chicago in October sometime. I may have to sneak in and see this setup. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming in today. First off, our panel, thank you for coming in and sharing your expertise and your life experience. It is such a privilege to spend an hour getting smarter with you on a Friday morning. It's great. Also to our producers who are asking such great questions. We never quite know which part of our brain is going to be the one that's getting bigger, but you asked some amazing questions. We did have to send some back today, so if we didn't get to your question and it was a QR code question, we'll start rolling those again on Monday. And then if you were in Mokana asking the questions, those are back in your notes, so you can ask those the next time you're watching live. Finally, thank you to our back-end crew, making us look and sound good, keeping the show running smoothly and organized, the development teams. There are so many amazing people that keep this show going every single day, and you are the bedrock of what we do, and we really, really appreciate it. The Tlaloc traversal today, if we had to go around and ask these questions in person, would be 18,000 miles. That's 30,000 kilometers, 146 million bananas for scale. Let's see in after hours.
That was one quick.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, it did fly by.
I'm online now ordering my Area Alexa and lining up some camera operators and camera assistants.
You get Roger Deakins in there, some ingenue lenses. That'd be great.
Right.
I need to get a paintbrush with some alcohol there, Courtney. That you I was scrubbing equipment the other day. I was like, wait, what?
Isn't that the Pinot and palette where you get a paintbrush and some alcohol?
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait,
Bob
hold
Ross,
on. That's something different.
No.
Oh, Ronnie, are you in it? Did the cold front get you?
No, it passed.
It passed beside you.
25 minutes ago, I heard some thunder and lightning.
No more
It's
tsunami
passed.
warnings here. Yeah.
Gotta finish redoing my Mac. I